Hello everybody, this is Gerald Washington. Today I'm going to talk about the dangers of 5G radiation. Alright, so first things first is, I've been seeing a lot of stuff on the internet going around, especially with a bunch of people ever since this COVID-19 thing happened, trying to relate the correlation of 5G cellular technology to the cause of coronavirus. And I just want to give you guys again some more education on those things today as it pertains to 4G and 5G, and even a little bit about 3G as well, and show you the effects or tell you the effects, not necessarily show, I don't have any examples to physically show you, but tell you about the effects that 5G could have on the body. So first off, what is 4G, 3G, and 5G? What they are really, it stands for third generation. As far as 3G, 4G is fourth generation, and 5G is fifth generation. So with those are different eras of cellular technology in order to increase the speed of cellular service. See, before, most cellular service used just straight up microwaves. Back in the olden days, they used microwaves in order to service a larger area, but the problem was that it was very slow. So with the emergence of smartphones, they had to start making networks a lot faster, because now these phones are used to surf the internet and surf the web, and you had the rise of social media, people working on the go, using email on the go, on their phones, shopping on their phones, doing all sorts of things on their phones. So in order for smartphones to continue being relevant and not just seem like a flash in the pan type novelty item, they had to make the network faster. So that's where 3G was born, third generation cellular towers. Then a few years after that, they came out with 4G, and 4G had two different modes. It had LTE, which is commonly known and found around, LTE, which stands for long-term evolution. Then it also had WiMAX. It had WiMAX, which is the technology that was used in those mobile hotspots that we see quite often, where people take the little mobile hotspot and they use it for internet, to use it for Wi-Fi on the internet. So they use that for 4G, LTE, and WiMAX. So recently, within the past, I'd say maybe year, just about a year ago, they came out with fifth generation. So the concerns came out with fifth generation because people were finding out that it's about 100 times faster, which not quite as much, not quite as 100 times faster, not quite as fast, but definitely a significant speed increase when it comes to the difference between 4G and 5G. 4G, it went about, maybe you could probably get a good 6 megabits per second out of it, which is slower than a normal dial-up network in a rural area, maybe about 6 megabits per second. 5G, it can go upwards to 100 megabits per second, which is a little bit closer to what we see nowadays with DSL cable and even fiber in some areas, in some cities. So it definitely does go, quite faster, but not 100 times faster. All right, and as far as the frequencies it uses, it's labeled as ultra high frequency because of the way the frequencies are set up. And I'm going to have a diagram that you're going to see pop up in just a second, showing the difference between all of the different frequencies, the radio frequencies, because that's what it uses. It uses radio signals. Any wireless technology is going to use some form of a radio signal, some form of radiation, in order to send its message across. So 4G is going to use about 700 megahertz, between 700 megahertz and 2.4 gigahertz, which 2.4 gigahertz, that's about the same frequency that our home Wi-Fi networks use. Our home Wi-Fi networks, our home Wi-Fi routers, they're going to be working either between 2.4 gigahertz or they're going to be working at 5 gigahertz. There is nowhere really in between. It's either 2.4 or 5 gigahertz, depending on what mode your router is in. And we're going to talk about that as well in another video when I make a networking video. but it's going to go those speeds. As far as 5G, the one thing that people did have correct, you know, when there wasn't so much of a panic about it, is yeah, it does almost go about 300 times the frequency, but not 300, I'm sorry, 100 times the frequency. The frequency is actually 300 gigahertz, which is still safe. 300 gigahertz is still a safe range for radio frequency radiation. It's not harmful at all. As a matter of fact, our home microwaves and microwave ovens, they operate at 300 gigahertz. So isn't it kind of odd that 5G and microwaves go at the same frequency? Not at all, because 5G networks now use microwaves, at least in larger populated areas, because microwaves, they're a little bit stronger and they can spread to a wider population than it could without microwaves, which was the problem we were having with 4G. We had to build a ton more 4G towers. And now with the 5G, we don't have to build as many towers. With our 4G, the range on the towers was about maybe 200 meters, about 300 meters, somewhere in there. But now with 5G, we can have our towers about 500 meters apart, so we can have a lesser concentration of 5G antenna and 5G towers, saving us space. Plus with 5G towers, we didn't have to build any towers anymore. We could put the antennas on top of skyscrapers. You'll see antennas often, if you go to larger cities, to larger populated cities, you'll often see them on the top of lamp posts in the city, or you know, traffic lights in the city on top of those posts. If you go inside some modern sports stadiums, for instance, in the San Francisco 49ers stadium, they have 5G antenna embedded in the handrails to provide people with internet connection, because they, you know, they have their 5G tower out, and the handrails and the lamp posts, they're not really antenna per se, but they're more along the lines of range extenders, again, so that you don't have to have a higher concentration of 5G towers. It's a lot less expensive and a lot more economic. So as far as the dangers of 5G, 5G cannot cause any coronavirus like symptoms. It's just not possible, especially in a fast manner that the virus actually spread. But you know, there have been concerns with especially the older cellular technology about any cancer causing possibilities of 5G. And the answer is kind of tricky, because it's kind of yes, but it's also a large resounding no. The danger comes in if you're too close to a 5G tower. And how close is too close? Well, if you're about in the 100 meter range, which we saw in the last video, it's a little bit over 300 feet, that 100 meter range, you're kind of in danger. But the most danger is going to come is if you go right up and climb up next to a 5G antenna and probably just live there for the rest of your life. You could see some significant changes that can happen to your body, or some significant catalyst for you know, certain types of cancer. But in short, still, because of the way they place 5G networks and 5G antenna, we're kind of out of danger, because again, in the diagram that you see here, in the drawing animation that you see here, there is a safe zone. There is a safe zone, and that safe zone is right underneath the antenna, because of the way that it broadcasts is waves, that they don't go in a straight line, and they're not omnidirectional. They're pretty much unidirectional, meaning that one side goes one way and the other side goes another in order to receive. So we're still pretty much, you know, not in danger, again, unless someone just climbs up the top of a building and sleeps right next to the antenna. There's really no immediate danger. And plus, in short, the radio frequencies that we're talking about, they are non-ionizing. They're non-ionizing radio frequencies. The only frequencies that are ionizing are X-rays, gamma rays, and ultraviolet rays. All right. So even visible light, even just looking at me right now, or turning and looking at anything in your home, that has a higher frequency than 5G. So the danger of it, not so much, again, unless you climb the tower and go sleep directly next to it for about 2 or 3 years, and maybe you could see some changes in your body. But again, that 100 meter range, we're pretty much safe. In the way they're placed, it takes people completely out of danger for the most part, as long as that stuff is kind of still being regulated and planned accordingly. We shouldn't have any danger with 5G. But that's it in short. As always, I hope you guys found this educational. I will have links to my sources in the comments of the video, well, in the video description. And I hope you guys had fun learning this stuff. And if you have any questions, as always, please feel free to email me, geraldw@3minutetech.net. See you later.